But before we stray too far away from the new provincial rules, I want to bring in Ottawa lawyer Eli Labaki. Eli, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Eli, you deal with labor issues and human rights complaints. Are there any red flags that stick out to you about what the province has proposed?
There are some restrictions that I'm concerned about, notably the ones that have to do with policing, and that police officers can now effectively stop anyone at random. Now, it is an authority that's conferred on police chiefs. The boards have no control over whether or not these are enforced whatsoever. It's the chief's exclusive authority whether or not he wants to compel or she wants to compel his officers to do so. Now, we've seen across the province a lot of chiefs are saying, no, we're not doing this. We're not going to engage in doing so, and so that's rather reassuring. The province and the board cannot compel the chief to do this. This is an authority that the chief is exclusively responsible for, right? And even if he did so, that being said, there simply aren't any resources, enough resources to enforce this authority. I just got off a call with an officer telling me that they've been swamped all day across the board. The queue is extremely busy, and there are so many calls for service that you really can't stop someone and ask them where they're coming and where they're going. Now, there are some exemptions that the province has stated. If you're going to the grocery store, if you're going to the pharmacy, but even then, everybody could still use the same excuse. And how are you going to police that, for lack of a better word?
For sure. Let's stick with police for a moment. The police chief has said no random checks, but I'm going to read a tweet to you from one of our viewers. It says, 4 of my son's friends and one of their dads already stopped by Ottawa police on their way to essential work. All racialized Canadians need to rescind this awful order now, end quote. Now, we haven't been able to verify the claim, but in theory, what are your thoughts on this? Do you foresee more accusations or incidents of alleged racial profiling?
I certainly foresee more incidents. I foresee more people coming out and alleging, again, because this is an allegation in a tweet that cannot be verified, that random stops are racially motivated. Now, I think it's a very bold accusation. However, I am very understanding to the current realities that we're facing with policing in the community right now, and that the racial tensions between police and the community are extremely high. That doesn't necessarily mean that every time a police officer stops a member of a racialized community, that it's automatically racism or it's a human rights issue. We do have to maintain public trust and confidence in our police officers, and that they will exercise their discretion effectively. That being said, they're doing their jobs, and that's what they did here. Why are these individuals out? It's they weren't stopped because they're racialized. They were stopped because we are, in case people don't know, we're in a pandemic, and this is very serious. People are dying. People are getting very sick, and the officers, we have to trust that they're exercising their discretions effectively, and I believe that it's been done so here in this circumstances. But whether it's true or not, I'm not alleging that it's not, but I need more facts, right? But these are situations that we can certainly look at a bit deeper. But it's going to happen inevitably.
All right, we're running out of time, but I do want to ask you this last question. As you know, some are hesitant to get the vaccine, but is it not true in some regards one's employer could compel them to do so?
Absolutely, and there are some employers actually in the city, notably mental health centers or hospitals, that have already been compelling their employees or volunteers for a long period of time. I can speak from a personal note. I've been required to take a TB skin test to volunteer at a mental health center or to volunteer at a hospital, even just to be on the board of directors. Right, so it's something definitely that we're going to have to need to explore from a legislative standpoint in the future, but I can foresee it happening, yes.
All right, Eli Labaki, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.